Too frequent changes, too often. That's not evolution. Damn it, that's confusion. Seriously. Evolution is slow, gradual, punctuated, but at equilibrium. You have to study all subjects for exam? Thank you. I was confused. That you study only history, polity, and economy. I'm sorry, I was confused. There is much more than history, polity, and economy to UPSC. Yes. You would realize that once you fail in your exam, that's a problem. That is the problem. Yes. We did learn about this, the coral stuff, and then we got deviated to somewhere where we forgot where we went. That's a problem. Yes. Please remember, contemporary issues would be overlapping in nature, concerned with multiple subjects. There is no contemporary development which is confined only to one subject. If you take any issue, that will have relationship with multiple other subjects. Please understand this. That is why you have to touch upon all related things to explain one basic element and how it became or how it is becoming a news event, a news item. We have one which is called as derecho, not co, it is cho, it is Spanish, la derecho. Why we should talk about this? Please remember, it is one of the rarest environmental phenomena. As we explained in the previous session, that contemporary issues should be seen as the news item, news event must be seen as the tip of the iceberg. Get it? The core concept as the base. So you construct something right from the base and move towards the top. That's how you should pursue contemporary developments. Am I early? Thank you. It seems so for some of you. Yes. That's the problem with something which is free. Get it? You never know when you cross the boundaries. Yes. We're talking about derecho here. Derecho means a straight line. So the very meaning of derecho being a straight line in Spanish gives us one unique thought that how can an environmental phenomena, a weather phenomena, especially a storm, be in a straight line? In general, storms are cyclical. Please understand this. Till date, what we have observed, any storm, let it be a cyclone in Indian Ocean region, a hurricane in northern, northwestern Atlantic, a typhoon in northern and northern Pacific in general, or in North America on the land, tornado. All these phenomena in general are storms. But one thing in common for all these storms is the winds, the moisture are cyclical in nature. They follow Coriolis in northern hemisphere, counterclockwise direction or orientation. Southern hemisphere, it is clockwise. And to the contrary, we have something which is an opposite to this, which is anticyclone. Anticyclone is clockwise in northern hemisphere and counterclockwise in southern. A derecho is none of these two, but a straight line storm. That is the uniqueness conceptually to a derecho. The very meaning of the word derecho in Spanish is straight line. A storm in a straight line is unique. If something is unique in news, that becomes a potential question. Hence, that is being discussed here. Yes. So, in certain states of North America, this phenomenon was observed in the recent past. Primarily, the civilians observed a green sky. The very green sky itself is unique. You understand this? It is a rare phenomenon to have a green sky. How many of you have seen a green sky here, anywhere on the planet Earth, with your own eyes, without any gadget? None of you? Well, that is a potential question then. Get it? So we have two concepts to be focused here. Number one, how can a storm be in a straight line? Why shouldn't it be? Number two, what's the reason for green sky? And underlying concepts. Yes, because it is an environmental phenomena, hence we're talking about this here. Yes. So it is a thunderstorm, Illinois, Nevada. These states, people living in these states have observed a green sky with a kind of cloudy, straight line cloudy phenomena with a horizontal line of showers which are moving continuously at high speeds, horizontal showers, horizontal clouds which spanned to distances exceeding 400 kilometers. 400 kilometers long continuous straight line clouds, that's a rare phenomena, without circulating cyclical winds, that's another rare phenomena, with greenish reflection of sky, that's another unique phenomena. So these three forced the meteorologists to observe and conduct a scientific study and issue a report on this. And that's how we came to know about this, a derecho, a weather phenomena. Yes. United States National Weather Service is a widespread, long-lived. What is long-lived? This remains so for weeks together, unlike any cyclical storm or cyclonic storm, which remains only for few days. Yes. Straight line wind storm. Please remember, when we say wind, we always imagine spiraling wind. In general, a wind associated with any storm is spiral in its orientation. And we have seen this already. That in a cyclone, it is counterclockwise in northern and clockwise in southern. And this is by the virtue of Coriolis. And this is by the virtue of rotation of the earth at variable speeds depending on the latitudes. We did explain about this earlier in last week's session. Earth rotates at varying speeds at equator, and the speeds of rotation would decrease polewards. We did talk about this earlier? We did. To speeds exceeding up to 1600 km per hour at equator and 0.0008 km per hour towards poles. You get it? And then these always would exert some force for winds to rotate. And this is irrespective of such rotational phenomena of the earth. So non-Coriolis wind storm. That is the uniqueness of this derecho. So band of rapidly moving showers or thunderstorm. Band, horizontal band. Yes. So the name comes from the Spanish word la derecha, which means straight. Straight in general. Yes, you can see that here. You may consider writing. That's always useful to you. Yes. So straight line storms are those in which thunderstorm winds have no rotation, unlike a tornado. Please remember, tornado is similar to a cyclonic storm which happens on land. That's the only difference. Cyclical wind patterns are same, subjected to Coriolis effect. Storms travel hundreds of miles and cover a vast area. A term which is usually used here to refer to the area covered by anything as what? You must have heard about this term. Sorry. Okay. Great. Yes. A swath. What's a swath? Or swath? It doesn't matter how you pronounce. Swath means what? Area covered. You must have studied about swath concept in science and technology, especially space technology, especially in remote sensing. Get it? Remote sensing, satellites scan the earth and take images. And the area covered by each camera or sensor on board remote sensing satellites, area covered is called as swath. Different satellites cover different areas or different extent of areas. And the area covered in a single instance of scanning or sensing is called as swath in general. Yes. So for a storm to be classified as a derecho, it must have wind gusts of at least 93 kilometers per hour. Please remember. These numbers are official. World Meteorological Organization has also approved these numbers. So you can have questions. Which of the following are true concerned with a derecho? You will understand this. In that they may give multiple statements. And a question can be, which of the above are right or wrong? It depends. You know the UPSC's pattern. You get it? So, wind speeds are at least 93. At least. The bottom line. You get it? Yes. Wind damage swath extending more than 400 kilometers. Please remember the extent of these clouds. The windstorm extent, the swath is 400 kilometers. That's a very vast area as far as the land storms are concerned. In general, tornadoes do not extend beyond a few tens of kilometers. But this derecho spans in excess of 400 kilometers in a single instance. Now, that is something unique. Yes. In general, that would be a better picture. You can ask me, there is a curve. You said straight line. Okay. It's a wide angle camera. That's it. That's over. If you understand photography, wide angle camera, you look at something in a curved fashion. Here clouds or derecho is not curved. Your lens is curved. Please understand this. You get it? That's how it is. Yes. Green sky. Why sky should be green in a derecho? You understand this? So this is in general, primarily the clouds in general, by the virtue of containing a lot of water vapor and water, they would reflect bluish color in general. But this occurred during summers, May and June, even in July. And afternoon and evening sunlight in general would have reddish yellow tinge to sunlight. When reddish yellow tinge combines with blue, the resultant product color is green. Hence, the derecho took a color of green and the sky appeared green. You will understand this. Straight storm, derecho. What's so unique? It is not associated with cyclical wind. Criteria are minimum of 93 km per hour speed, extending up to 400 kilometers in swath, and it would color the sky green. So these are unique elements about a derecho. Yes. We'll move on to the next. I'll be sharing these things with you. You can have a detailed look at them when you have free time. Yes. Next would be, please remember, wetlands is a very big discussion. We would include them in multiple series of classes. Please understand. It is not possible to cover everything about wetland in a single session. You get it? But we can pick only few things about wetlands here. So first, before going into the contemporary development regarding wetland or a potential wetland, let's try to look at something called as, what is official definition of a wetland? A land which is wet is wetland. Of course, yes, you are correct. You are always correct. Because you are the judge. Yes. Areas of marsh. Okay, marshy areas, you know that, mud. Yes. Fen is similar to marshy land. Please understand this. Not very different. Peat land. What is peat here? Very simple. Peat in general. You must have studied about energy technologies. In that, you must have studied about different forms of coal. Peat, bituminous, lignite, anthracite. That's it. Only 4 types. Coal, fossil fuel, usually brownish black. You can burn it. You understand this? Similar to that. Upon burning, it releases heat, smoke. You get it? That's coal. Yes. Peat is partially decomposing organic debris. That's it. That's how you define peat. Get it? Peat has got one more link with your environmental studies. What is that here? Yes, please. Fumdi. Fumdi? Fumdis? Circular peat. Floating debris. You get it? Fumdis. What are these? We have world's only one floating national park in India. Where is it? Kibul Lamzao National Park. You understand this? So Fumdi is circular. Peat is the main content of circular floating debris in lakes. We'll come to that at a later stage. Yes. So peat land. Land in which there is partially decomposing organic debris. Decomposition occurs at a faster pace when there is little amount of moisture. In dry conditions, decomposition is relatively slower. You understand this? In moist conditions, decomposition is relatively faster. Why? In dry conditions, only bacteria resort to decomposition. In moist conditions, along with bacteria, fungi also resort to decomposition. Hence, the rate of decomposition is faster in moist conditions. Fungi can survive only in moist conditions, not dry conditions. If fungi mediate decomposition, what do you call it as? Fermentation. And if bacteria resort to decomposition, you call it as rotting. You get it? Because the bacterial decomposition generates methane and ammonia, whereas fungal decomposition, which is fermentation, releases ethanol, sweet odor, and carbon dioxide. You must have studied about this in basic school. Don't ask me which school. Yes? Yes. Peatland or water, whether natural or artificial. So this official definition, who gave this official definition? As you can see here, 1971, a town in Iran called as Ramsar, International Convention on Wetland Conservation and Sustainable Utilization was held, wherein the United Nations resolved to conserve and urged all member nations to responsibly use the wetlands. For wetlands conserve not only water, but are home to biological diversity, prevent soil erosion, and enrich groundwater table. Because of multiple benefits, along with providing drinking water and irrigation water to nearby towns and cities, there are multiplicity of benefits out of a single wetland. Considering all the potential benefits arising out of a wetland, it became imperative to conserve them. At the same time, without compromising the livelihood support these wetlands provide to local communities. You'll understand this. You cannot keep conserving everything without using them for our benefit. And that's where arises something called as sustainable development. Please understand this. For example, you have a strip of forest. International and national legislations, laws, acts, they all say that forest should be conserved. But what about those people or communities whose primary source of livelihood is forest produce? What about them? You'll understand this. You cannot apply the GS4 concept here, which is the utilitarianism. What is utilitarianism in GS4? If in a given population, a thought, a word, or a decision benefits or gives maximum benefit to maximum number of people in a given population or society, that is ethically and morally justified, that is considered as right. But when you say maximum, that means there is something minimum, and that group of people would not be benefited. Still, that act, that decision is ethically right, and that is how governments across various levels proceed with developmental projects, in spite of knowing that those projects may not benefit and indeed may cause harm to some sections of society. For example, you take the mining, mineral exploitation or exploration from forest regions. What we look at is the benefit part of it. What doesn't see the light is the not so benefit or beneficial part of it. You have to understand this. Similarly, the multi-purpose river valley projects. What we see is the benefits arising out of those projects. What we don't is the losses these projects cause to some sections of society. This idea would help you to write better answers concerned with the internal security related issues. Please understand this. If at all there is left-wing extremism in India, blame it on our model of economic development following utilitarianism. You have to understand this. Our utilitarian model of economic development is one indirect reason for left-wing extremism blooming in deep dense forest regions, resulting in the establishment of a right corridor. You understand this? Well, you cannot make everyone happy, but for the happiness of someone, can you make somebody else sad? That is what utilitarianism says. Is it justifiable? Ask yourself. You understand that? Well, that's how it is. Thomas Aquinas in GS4 says what? Doctrine of double effect. Again, GS4. I'm sorry, that's how you have to learn. It's UPSC, not LKG. You get it? The goal is to interlink as many subjects as possible and give answers in the most multi-dimensional manner. Your answers need to be multi-dimensional and multi-perspective oriented. Only then examiner would understand that you have had a comprehensive preparation. Only then you can be relatively balanced, relatively unbiased. That's how you can justify that you need marks more than others. You get it? It's all about writing. Yes? So what is the link? What is this Thomas Aquinas doing here? Doctrine of double effect. Probably you all are aware of it already. A kind of revision. What is Doctrine of double effect by Thomas Aquinas? Every thought, every word, every action will carry two impacts, two effects or two consequences, one of which is intended for, the another is not intended for. Side effects. You get it? Take a tablet. You have positive or good effects. At the same time, you have, if somebody says, take this tablet doesn't have any side effect. Who's the fool there? If you don't find any fool around, probably you are the one. You understand this? And definitely not the doctor. Doctor knows what he or she is doing. It's your turn. You get it? There is no thought, no word, no action without two impacts. You get it? One is that effect or impact or consequence which you intended for, you expected, you anticipated, you wanted. Another, unintended, unanticipated side effect. You get it? So that is how utilitarianism became a concept in GS4. It is because of Doctrine of double effect of Thomas Aquinas. It is imperative, inevitable, unavoidable. You get it? Imagine yourself. You speak a word, it is good to someone, not so good to somebody else. That's over. You proved it. Your action pleases someone, hurts someone else. That's over. You're living Thomas Aquinas' ideology. You get it? Well, that's universal. You can't avoid it. Getting back here. Ramsar, conservation. Conservation of wetlands by the virtue of their benefits, not at the cost of affecting adversely the livelihoods of communities who are completely dependent on those wetlands. Hence, the concept of sustainability. What is sustainability? In 1983, United Nations gave the responsibility of studying the concept of sustainability to the former Prime Minister of Norway, Gro Harlem Brundtland. She, female. 90% of the people don't know that she's she. Yes? She's a former Director General of WHO as well. She submitted the report in 1987. You must have studied about this. What's the title of the report? Brundtland Commission report. What's the title? It was a previous preliminary question. What's the title? Our Common Future. Is this visible? Manageable? Thank you. I'm working on my handwriting. Give me some time. I can do better. People ask, what's the problem with the handwriting of one community? Which is that community? What's the problem? Brains or thoughts run faster than muscles or hands. That's the problem. Yet can't help it. We can become better always. We can improvise. I'm working on it. Give me some time. What is this we're talking about? Our Common Future is the title of the Brundtland Commission report on sustainability, which is popularly known as sustainable development. What is sustainable development? Joke. Isn't it? Why? Why a joke? Sustainability is saving something for the future. Okay. Responsible utilization of resources on one hand. On the other hand, development is based on the agenda of efficient utilization of resources. Sustainability says responsible utilization of resources. Development aims at efficient. Please understand, that's a dangerous term. What is efficient? To the fullest possible extent. Don't you think both are mutually contradictory? You can understand this. It is like combining Andhra and Telangana and ta-da, giving Andhra Pradesh. You know what happened? Okay. You get it? And what did Nehru said? Let's not repeat it. We don't want another bifurcation now. Get it? So sustainability and development have different goals. Now we deliberately combine these two. You get it? Otherwise we cannot convince people. And we cannot guarantee a better future for them. You get it? Our model of economic development is similar to, we are trying to mortgage our present for our future. Our model of industrialization is, we are mortgaging our future for our present. You know what is mortgaging? You should bring a dictionary with you always. We used to carry one. Not a problem. It should not be a problem to you to carry a dictionary, is it? Make sure that when examiner reads your answers, examiner should go run and get his dictionary. That should be the goal. Educate the examiner. You understand that? Let the examiner go run and get one dictionary. That should be the vocabulary you use in your answers. You can do it. All you have to do is try. Yes. Sustainable development. How did Gro Harlem Brundtland define sustainable development? Development which meets the needs of present generation without compromising the future generation's ability to meet their needs. Please remember, development is completely dependent on natural resources which are available now. Now, how can you ensure that the future generations would also meet their needs similar to what or how we are meeting our needs based on natural resources if we resort to efficient utilization of natural resources? Would we leave anything for them? Well, that is where sustainable development jumps in and tries to fill the gap. That we should utilize our natural resources which are responsible for our development in a more responsible manner and still achieve development. That's like walking on a tight rope and a valley beneath without any balancing rod. You get it? That's a challenging task. And the end is not clearly defined. It's a journey. Please understand this. We don't know how it's going to end. That's what Guru Harlem Brundtland explained in her report. Getting back here. So, Ramsar Convention on Conservation and Sustainable Use of Wetlands globally also aims at what? Sustainable. What is sustainable here? Conserve a wetland. That means preserve the ability of a wetland to keep benefiting us, but in a more responsible way. You get it? Communities can derive their livelihoods from wetlands, but in a more sustainable way. Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi also says the same thing. What is that? Development should be based on need rather than greed. What is that? Sustainability approach. You get it? All these things can be useful in the mains exam. Yes. That is what this Ramsar Convention's objective is. So, it can be. So, Ramsar Convention tries to define what a wetland is and helps us to classify types of wetlands. Natural or artificial? Yes. That means, can we include a reservoir or a dam or artificial lake, Hussain Sagar, a wetland? Yes or no? I don't want your Bahubali 6 stories. Give me yes or no. That's it. That's over. Answer is here. Just like preliminary examination. Your eyes can't see what your brain doesn't know. You get it? Though something is in front of you, you still can't see it. Why? Vision is intellectual first, ocular later. You get it? Are you able to comprehend? Yes. We should love last benches more than first benches, because last benches are the most comfortable benches on the planet Earth. I was a last bencher. I love them because last benches give us freedom, which is invaluable. You get it? First benches give us anxiety. Yes? Thank you. Yes. Classification, they can be natural or artificial. Yes. Permanent or temporary. You have to understand this. What is a temporary wetland? High tide, water comes, stagnates. Yes, temporary. Or peninsular rivers. You get it? Glacial wetlands. Whenever ice melts, there is a wetland. Whenever ice freezes, no wetland. Do you get it? So, permanent or temporary. We are looking at Ramsar Convention's official definition and classification of wetlands, yeah? Yes. So, permanent or temporary, natural or human-made, with water that is static or flowing. So, a river, canal, rivulet, can we call them as wetlands? Of course. Pond, lake, dam, reservoir, ocean, can we call them as wetlands? Ocean? Well, we have a condition here regarding depth. also is mentioned by Ramsar Convention. That is slightly unique here. Yes. So fresh water. How do you classify water as fresh water or brackish, saline or marine? How do you classify? By looking at them? Definitely not. By tasting them? Then how? How can you call a water fresh water or salt water or saline marine? Salt concentration, that's it. Salt concentration. Get it? Salt concentration in parts per million. Up to 1 fresh, up to 1, 2, up to 34 saline, more than 34 or 35 marine. Salt concentrations, please understand this. Yes. So brackish or salt. What is brackish? It's a generic term. When you go to Kerala, you would understand all these things. What is brackish? Even in Andhra Pradesh, you have some brackish waters. Tamil Nadu, we have a lot of brackish waters. Karnataka, relatively lesser. What is brackish? Okay. Was that a tough question? Yes, please. In general, that is not subject related question. What is brackish? A general, very generic question. Combination of fresh water and salt water, saline water. That's it. It's a simple thing. So at those regions wherein the rivers or freshwater bodies merge with the saline marine waters, because of tide, there is a backflow. You'll have brackish. You get it? A simple thing here. Yes. So including areas of marine water. When we say marine or marine, immediately we talk of ocean or sea. To prevent that confusion, they have a criterion. What is that here? A marine wetland should not exceed. Yes. Which at low tide does not exceed 6 meters. What is that in the form of what? Atolls, lagoons. You have to understand this. So these are few examples of marine. Marine, at low tide, the depth should not exceed 6 meters. So atolls, lagoons, these are few examples of such. So all these water bodies can be called as wetlands according to Ramsar Convention official. So if you want to know more about Ramsar Convention, yes, 1971 February 2nd, this convention was signed in a town called as Ramsar, Iran, for sustainable conservation and sustainable utilization of wetlands. Yes. So we have this conservation and wise use, sustainable. Wise use means responsible use. By considering that humans are wise animals. Wise is what? Responsible animals. Wetlands through national actions and international cooperation. Ramsar Convention supports those countries which are intending to conserve wetlands within their sovereign territories. International cooperation, technologically, financially, equipment and expertise wise, Ramsar would help. But every country, a sovereign territory, needs to have its own policy to conserve wetlands within their territories. So, contribution towards achieving sustainable development in general. That is the mission of Ramsar Convention, though. Yes, we'll talk about the wetlands at a later stage here, getting back. So, in general, we have something called as what? A wetland here. In general, please understand this. The characteristic features and the eventual benefits arising out of wetlands are because of these features in general. What is that here? So fluctuating water level. Sometimes it is dry, sometimes it is moist, sometimes it is completely filled with water. So variable morphology. Intermittent to permanently flooded is the hydrology here. Intermittent to permanently flooded is the hydrology. Water content decreases, increases, fluctuates. and the source, sink or transformer of your biogeochemical role. What is biogeochemical role here? Biogeochemical cycles you must have studied. What are biogeochemical cycles? Nutrient cycles. You must have studied in your basic environmental studies or ecology that we have two types of cycles. Number one is gaseous cycles. Number two is sedimentary cycles. Gaseous, you have all those gases, oxygen, all those things. Apart from that, important ones are what? Carbon, nitrogen. Very important gases. And then sediments. What are the important sediments we talk in general of? We have multiple sediments though here. We have phosphorus, we have sulfur. So we have a lot of such sediments here. Yes. Wetlands act as source of the nutrients, sink of nutrients, and it acts as a transformer of nutrients. So individual elements combine to form compounds, salts. That is a precious resource of nutrients. And then productivity generally high but sometimes low. So it would be home to biological diversity, both floral as well as faunal as well as microbial. So wetlands act as home to biological diversity in general. That is also one benefit out of wetlands, hence we should conserve them. So why it is in news now? Yes. So bird village. Where is this bird village here? A community driven conservation efforts, Menar. Can we write something here? Yes. Menar in Udaipur district is said to be notified as Rajasthan's new wetland. A bird village. Now, why it is called as bird village, and what is the importance of bird village, and what is the relationship between bird village and a wetland here? Most of the wetlands in general are home to variety of bird species, especially migratory species. Please understand this. We have a convention on migratory species called as Bonn Convention. If you have studied Bonn Convention, otherwise called as CMS. What is CMS? Convention on Migratory Species of Birds and Animals. Due to varying seasonal temperatures and availability of food and water across the globe, many organisms migrate to live in, to reproduce, to breed in convenient, comfortable, suitable and favorable regions. In general, when we say migratory species, we talk of birds primarily more than any other organism. Why? Boundaries. That's it. Obstacles. Birds don't have any obstacles or boundaries. All other organisms have. Let it be terrestrial animals, they have a lot of boundaries. Aquatic, they too have boundaries. Birds don't, in general. Hence, most of the organisms which are protected under Bonn Convention, most are birds. Most, not all. Yes, so Bonn Convention aims at conserving migratory species. Every country must conserve the incoming guest because they would remain here, breed, contribute to the local biological diversity and go back. Fine, you must have seen Odisha coast olive reedlets. That is one simple example. Olive reedlets, their breeding grounds are the tropical waters or tropical coastline of Odisha. And few birds come from thousands of kilometers. You get it? For the purpose of breeding. Yes. So, and in this, the local communities conserved the Menar wetland here in such a way that lot of migratory species of birds started visiting, which contributed to local tourism, local economy, and ability of this Menar wetland to support biological diversity. Considering all these factors, it is included under the wetland of international importance, otherwise called as Ramsar wetland. That's in news. Yes. So this will pave the way for getting the Ramsar site status for this rural heartland of the Mewar region. We have two regions, Mewar, Marwar. People from Marwad region are Marwadis. Mewad region, Mewadis. Okay, let's not go back there. Yes. So, the two lakes in the village, the Brahma and Dhand. Brahma and Dhand. You may have potential questions from this area, if at all, in preliminary question paper as well. It depends when you are writing your exam. Play host to a large number of migratory birds in the winter season every year. When we say migratory birds, immediately what should you remember? This. That is why it is significant. Concepts in science are interconnected, interlinked, interdependent. You cannot study all this in an isolated manner. Please understand this. They are linked. Why it is important? Because it becomes a temporary home to migratory birds. Migratory, again, we have a convention in which India is a signatory. So it is mandatory for us to conserve any wetland which becomes a home to migratory species under Bonn Convention. You get it? So that is how few concepts are linked here. That's all, nothing else. And some background about a wetland. We did have a look. Yes. Yes. Wetland background, that's a big discussion. But to keep it very concise, yes. 4.6% of land is wetland in India. Please remember, India is not doing much for conservation of wetlands, or India is not doing much to develop new wetlands of international importance. Why? Because India primarily, whereas most parts of India are primarily water scarce regions. Please understand this. If there is a water body, we would prefer to use it for irrigation and drinking waters. That's it. That means we consume rather than conserve. For example, there is a bird moving and you look at the bird. What would you think of it? To preserve it here or to conserve it there? Hey, my lunch is going. A chicken is flying or trying to fly. Hey, my biryani is flying away. Catch it. Your biryani is flying away. That's how you see it. Consumptive attitude rather than conservative attitude. Yeah, I'm conserving it, but at a different place. Where is it? GIT. Sorry. Peace in single piece, not peace in pieces. You understand that? There's a difference. Peace everywhere. Yes. Okay, so no, that's not a happy news. It's not a good news. That's a challenge. That means we have a lot of work to do. That should keep you productive, not busy. Yes? Benefits, a lot of benefits as we discussed earlier. That, fine, aesthetic benefit, of course, we can't forget about it. What is aesthetic benefit? A thing of beauty is joy forever. Well, what is beauty? Lies in the eyes of the beholder. You get it? It's beautiful to look at. Water. Well, if you are not from an island, then it should be beautiful to you. Yes? And it is home to a lot of organisms, plants, animals, birds, microorganisms. Yes. Ecological balance. Yes. Because a little cooler. And then it enriches groundwater table. Yes, of course. It provides drinking water facilities. Yes. If it is large enough, it provides irrigation facilities as well. You understand this? Tourism. Yes. Fishing. Yes. Boating. Yes. To all these elements. There are multiple benefits apart from supporting biological diversity. Wetlands give us a lot of benefits. Yes. And then India is home to approximately 54, with the addition of 5, 54 Ramsar, that is wetlands of international importance. Recently, we had 5 finding their place in the list. 3 from Tamil Nadu itself, 1 from Madhya Pradesh, 1 from Northeast. Where is that? Mizo. Yes. We'll talk about, we have a lot of discussions eventually. Yes. And the problem is what? What is the problem? You are the problem. Who are you? Homo sapiens sapiens. the pathogen infecting planet Earth. I'm not anti-human, but I'm pro-Earth. It's all in perspective. That's all. It's perspectives. Yes. Agriculture. Can we live without agriculture? Oh, please try finding another planet. Dredging. Yes. Dredging is a threat. But how do we see dredging as? Cleaning of water body. Please remember, you are affecting the natural serene wetland, because the surface flora in a wetland contribute to biological diversity. Dredging removes them. Are you able to understand this? Cleaning always is not suggested. You get it? Clean water body. Sorry, that's not rich water body in terms of biological diversity. Get it? Yes. Sand mining. We know that. Yes. What happens because of sand mining? The erosion of banks of the water body, erosion, and then flooding, and the change in the direction of the flow of water. You have to understand this. And the wetland behaves in an unpredictable manner because of sand mining. You have to understand this. These are, we gave a question. Desilting, sand mining, compare and contrast. Here, not here, another institute, I guess. Yes. Tourism is what? A benefit or a threat to a wetland? In wetlands, we'll talk about that, because of tourism, a lot of people flock to these wetlands and they throw their plastics and waste, and they construct some structures, and they throw some food which we think is a food to organisms in the water, but it may be poisonous or toxic to those organisms. And then you introduce new species of animals or plants. They might affect zoonotic diseases. They may introduce new diseases there. And then you construct bridges and you resort to fragmentation of wetland, and you do all nonsense stuff there. You destroy the natural serene environment of a wetland. Dams, we stop water, we stop the movement, migration, and natural interaction between aquatic flora and fauna. Yes. Reservoirs, canals, all these things here. Yes. So increasing salinity. Yes. When you stagnate water at one place artificially, all the sediments would increase the salinity concentrations or salt concentrations, because incoming water brings all salts and compounds from elsewhere, which would contribute to increase its salinity concentrations, which would affect the salt sensitive species of flora and fauna. Not all flora and fauna are, or they have a resistance to salinity concentrations, because not all plants are like mangrove plants. Mangrove plants are salinity resistant. What about fresh, the plants which grow in fresh waters? They are not salinity resistant. And in those wetlands, if salt concentrations increase, they cannot survive. And many fauna, fishes, are very sensitive to salt concentrations and temperature variations. Please understand this. They would also cannot survive. That means you are directly affecting adversely the biological diversity. Yes. Introduction of alien species is a threat because they become invasive. Weeds. For example, you have the hyacinth and then the horseshoe weed. Yes. So these are invasive species which grow on the surface of a wetland and cover the wetland entirely and obstruct the penetrability of sunlight into, and resulting in what? Eutrophication to a certain extent. Are you able to understand this? And then the quality of the wetland would be affected, and that wetland cannot support biological diversity here. Introduction, hyacinth, salvinia, we have a lot of species here. And sorry for the typo here. What is this? Urbanization. Urbanization is what? Development for us. You get it? But at the cost of wetlands, because we construct houses or businesses by encroaching upon the banks of wetlands. Please understand this. Hyderabad. We used to have hundreds of lakes in Hyderabad. Now, Very few. Yes. Thanks to rainy season, every home is a wetland now in Hyderabad. That's what our development has led to. Do you observe that? I cross the Holy Musi every day. Muchkunda is the name of Holy Musi. You know that? Vikarabad Hills is the point of origin. Don't look at me as if this is the first day of your life. Like, what happening? Kind of relax. Like, who is this alien? Who am I? Who are these? What is this? Stop it. Yes, please. Vikarabad Hills, Musi, Holy Musi, Muchkunda is a sage who did lot of meditation, tapasya kind of thing there and made Musi holy. What we made? Pani Puri. Your water in Pani Puri is from Holy Musi, you know that? Welcome to New India. Yes? Stay away from it. This is a season you end up saving the earth by dying. You understand this? That's an eco-friendly gesture. Stay away from them because there's a season of lot of infections, gastrointestinal, salmonella. It's dangerous. Yeah? Salmonella. What is that? Thank you. You saved my day. Otherwise, you'd be in love with Pani Puri already. They're calling. Come, come. Delicious Pani Puri made of pure Holy Musi water. Be cautious. Hunger changes people. You get it? Your intellect, limbic system gets suppressed when you're hungry. You act like an idiot when you're hungry. Be cautious. Yes. Climate change, ultimately, anthropogenic. You understand this? Climate change. Warmth, excessive warmth would affect those sensitive species of flora and fauna by killing them. Yes. Eutrophication. Sorry for the typo here. There is no H here. Eutrophication. What is that? When you convert a land into agricultural land and there is a wetland nearby, agricultural runoff would bring surplus fertilizers, which are primarily nutrients, into that wetland as a drainage. Excessive nutrients would be absorbed by the surface algal microorganisms, algae, which are close to the surface of the wetland. They would absorb these surplus nutrients and grow in the form of a bloom. What is bloom? Excessive growth in very short time period is called as bloom, which is very harmful to organisms which live inside the water. Hence, such a consequence is called as harmful algal bloom. This is the first step. They block the penetration of sunlight by overgrowing. Because of which what happens? Not only sunlight gets blocked, ability of the phytoplanktons inside the water to perform photosynthesis also gets affected. Hence, the oxygen concentrations inside the water body would decrease, resulting in a net decreased dissolved oxygen and increased the... When supply decreases, what happens to demand? Yes, please. When dissolved oxygen concentrations fall, why do they fall? Phytoplanktons are not performing photosynthesis. Why are they not performing photosynthesis? There is no sunlight. Why there is no sunlight? Harmful algal blooms are blocking. Why algae are blooming? Surplus nutrients. What are the surplus nutrients? Fertilizers. From where did we get? Agriculture surface runoff. You will understand this. Yes. And when dissolved oxygen concentrations fall, biological oxygen demand, resulting in hypoxia. What is hypoxia? Hypo means what? Suboptimal. What is suboptimal? Less than required. Oxia, oxygen concentrations or oxygen levels. You will understand this? So lesser than optimum levels of oxygen would cause a stress oxygen stress in living organisms, resulting in many microorganisms resorting to anaerobic respiration instead of aerobic respiration. Anaerobic respiration performed by bacteria would result in methane and ammonia release, adding foul odor to the water body. Anaerobic respiration performed by fungi would release ethyl alcohol. You understand this? And they increase carbon dioxide concentrations in the water body. Oxygen levels fall, toxin levels rise, resulting in decline in the quality, purity of water in that water body, and ultimately aerobic organisms would die because there is no oxygen. You'll understand this. So photosynthetic organisms, they die. Aerobic organisms, they die. Anaerobic organisms flourish, resulting in that wetland or water body becoming a foul odor generating, decomposed, degraded waste water body. This is what happens in the case of eutrophication. Eu means true, trophy means energy. This is what happens if you get surplus energy to water body. You get it? Yes. And industrial waste and solid waste dumping. I guess I shared this with you that every day across Holy Musi, people would be waiting in queue to dump their solid waste brought in by them in polythene bags on. There is a fence on top of it. They'll be playing, like basketball. What do you think of Holy Musi? Is it a dumping ground or what? But we assume that it is a dumping ground. You get it? Solid waste. That's what we do. We had a beautiful lake in Pragati Nagar off the Kukatpalli housing board opposite to JNTU. A beautiful lake we had. Now, eutrophied. It's a dumping ground. I guess the Welfare Association has taken up the cleaning activity, but I doubt. You get it? It's covered with the polythene, plastic covers, the lace packets, the biscuit packets, covers, and all the other waste. And your bones, thanks to Bonalu, lot of bone pieces, feathers of your lunch, dinner. Yes? The animal carcasses, only human dead bodies are not thrown there, except human dead bodies. Everything is discarded into that water body, which once was beautiful. You get it? Yes. And then industrial waste, effluents. Often they are toxic. They are conveniently released into nearest water body because we think water can take everything. And the same toxins would percolate down, leach, reach groundwater table, and you extract the same water and you drink. And you get diseases. Well, that is eco-friendly, but still. You get diseases, you die, earth is saved, eco-friendly. Not in a pleasant manner. Yes. So, as a background. So, wetland definition, Ramsar Convention, February 2nd. Then, Minar, Udaipur, local communities, benefits of a wetland, threats to wetland. You get it? So, that's how we have some knowledge about wetlands here. Yes. Next. The policy is concerned with conservation of wetlands in India. Yes. Do we have any policies concerned with conservation of wetlands in India apart from Ramsar is international convention? Apart from that, do we have any national policy? We have few. What are they? Wetlands Conservation and Management Rules 2017. Our own national policies, please understand this. If any sovereign territory or a country has got its own national policy on conservation of wetlands, only then Ramsar would help you. You get it? That means if you help yourself, others would help you or God would help you. Now, assume it is free. Yes or no? We love something which is free because we can misuse it, abuse it, overuse it, and take it for granted. Yes? National Plan for Conservation of Aquatic Ecosystems in general And then Wetland Health Card 2019. Every wetland will have this card. Like you have Aadhaar card, wetland has got its health card. You have to understand this. And then Wetland Mitra. Wetland Mitra, a kind of voluntary agent who in general would be observing the condition of the wetland and reports this to the local authorities. Yes. Wildlife Protection Act 1972. Why wildlife? Because wildlife is directly dependent on the natural wetlands for their survival and water needs. Please remember, many wetlands are present in forests as well. You must have seen Mowgli. In the last, there is near the water, all the animals come for a meeting. Yes, likewise. So Wildlife Protection Act here. Yes, please remember, wildlife protection includes habitats of wildlife as well. And habitat means home, the dwelling place. Habitat includes a water body which helps the survival of wildlife. So if you want to protect, conserve wildlife, you have to protect and conserve its habitat too. You have to understand this. That's the primary objective of biosphere reserves, national parks, tiger reserves, or any of those conservation reserves. The goal is to protect wildlife in their natural habitat. That means you have to protect their natural habitat too. Yes. And then Water Act 1974. Water Act 1970 to prevent pollution, contamination, and degradation of a water body. Yes. Environmental Protection Act 1986, which in general provides guidelines to maintain or to prevent the pollution of any kind of environmental component. Biological Diversity Act 2002, because migratory species, flora and fauna belong to biological diversity. So to protect biological diversity, you have to protect their habitat too. That would include wetland. Yes. Forest Rights Act 2006. Forest includes wetlands. Rights would be what? Conserving a wetland, at the same time protecting those people and their livelihoods which are dependent on wetlands. Please understand this. Forest rights would recognize the rights of traditional forest dwelling communities and tribal communities in India whose primary source of livelihood is forest produce. But Forest Rights Act divides forest produce into minor, non-timber forest produce and major, that is timber-based forest produce. So minor forest produce would include leaves, seeds, flowers, fruits, wild honey, lac, bamboo. Please remember, bamboo is non-timber minor forest produce. Bamboo is not timber. So bamboo baskets, toys, a lot of equipment would be made out of bamboos. So with all these things, the traditional forest dwelling communities and tribal inhabitants of forests can survive and earn their livelihoods. But timber based, that means wood or major forest produce is not, the right is not given to extract major forest produce to traditional forest dwelling communities or the tribal communities, because that would adversely affect the conservation efforts concerned with the forest. You get it? Now we are not talking about your pushpa. Yes? You get it? Yes. So these are the legislations or policies in place for the purpose of conservation of wetlands in general. And then next we'll move on to Azores High. Till what time you have the session, by the way? What's the time now? 6:10. Time's up. Thanks for your time and patience. See you in the next session. Thank you.